Welcome to the Awakening Intuition interviews. I am so excited. We have got with us here Lisette, who is a Reiki Master and a Reiki Master Teacher. And she's just come back and she's full of energy and just beaming with light. Now I'm just going to make this a gallery there so I can see you, Lisette. Welcome. Thank you so much for turning up.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. I'm very, very, very touched that you've invited me this evening. Thank you.
And look, you're just full of vitality.
Gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
I've just come from work, that's why.
And I know, Lisette, that, you know, with your work and being taught to be in that particular way, using your intuition was a complete no-no. So please, I'd love you to mention something about that before we dive into when you did listen.
Okay, so a lawyer by background and Reiki on the side, my other true passion. And I suppose, you know, being brought up to really think more with the head and being very risk averse, you know, that comes with the sort of territory of the legal background and everything else. So I really had to dig deep at times, just like everybody else, to actually follow and trust my intuition. And I found that when I have done so, things have happened really quickly. I felt really powerful, in control, all those really positive attributes, I suppose, that come also with that, you know, that being in that space and following the heart is so important. And when I haven't, it's been a nightmare. So my whole sort of upbringing has been, you know, very focused on the mental side, you know, academic achievements and all of that. And I suppose the most powerful example of me following my intuition has been in my journey into motherhood. If I can go a little bit about that, because that's really important to me. I have 4 children and I'm very devoted to being a mummy. It's really important. And the most sort of interesting aspect of all of it was the times in motherhood when I followed my intuition and when I haven't. So I had 2 home births with my first 2 children, and then 2 hospital births. And I've always been a bit of a hospital phobic and deep inside really felt uncomfortable. So with my first baby, I was what everybody in those days, you know, 23 years ago, everybody labeled as an untried pelvis and all the dangers of home births. I was in the UK at the time and quite a progressive NHS trust in Bristol, actually, but still, you know, there was a huge fear around that, and including my family and at times even myself, but I just felt that it was right. So against everybody's sort of advice, I suppose, I said, no, I'd like to have I'm young, I'm fit, I really feel this is the right thing for me. I'd like to have my first baby at home, thank you. And I did. And it was a most amazing experience. And then I had my second baby at home. Amazing again with my partner. It's just the right thing for us. And it was beautiful. And we felt so empowered and so safe. Not that it's the right thing for everyone, but certainly was for me. And I really, that's the biggest time, that's the most, I suppose, important time in my life when I've really trusted that deep inner voice.
Where did it come from, that deep in? How did you, you know, why did you know it was so strong?
It was inspired by a group of women in a yoga class that I went to who were all having home births, and I was the only one having hospital births. And I thought, hang on a minute, that's so dangerous. And then started talking and did a lot of research. And then I thought, I actually, do you know, deep inside that feels right. I may not have thought about it had I not been in that environment. So I think being in the right environment that's conducive to you being quiet enough to listen to that deep, I suppose you could call it, your inner whisperings, it is important. So giving yourself that space. So I had 9 months to give myself that space and really just follow my heart and that deep, the voices inside, not the inner critique, not the overly mental, because if I'd just thought about it with the head, you know, I wouldn't have done it, because I would have lapsed into my risk averse lawyer, all the risks associated with home birth and not done it. So without going into all the graphic details, it just ended up being the perfect thing for me. But I appreciate it's not the right thing always for everyone.
And then you had a different experience.
Yes, I did. So then 3 years later, I had my third baby, and I was told then, oh, you're such an old mum now. And I wasn't an old mum, but I went with that, oh, I've had 2 babies and now I'm an old mum. And I didn't have the support network I had around me.
Right.
The first 2 times. And I think that was significant. So I felt that I'd be taking too much of a risk. And we thought, oh, well, you know, I'm a bit older now. What if something happens? And I didn't listen. And my goodness, I mean, they were safe, they were fine, but not at all what I wanted. So different from that earthly kind of, I just want to be in water. I just want to be in my space, in my little kind of nest or cave, the space that we created around. And just those energies were very different. And now I do Reiki, I know why it was so important to me and how, you know, but of course then I wasn't doing Reiki and I wasn't so in tune with it. But it was a huge difference, both in the experience, in my recovery. And each time there was more and more fear. So after 3rd baby, 4th baby, you're really old now. I mean, like now, just forget it. But then snuck in all sorts of alternative practices inside the hospital and had a whole barrage of issues as well to deal with. But so in the end, I did try to make it the best experience it could have been for me, but inherently it was wrong, you know.
What I'm really interested in, what happened to that deep inner knowing?
It's very strange. I think I was tired. I think after having children, you change, your body changes, you are so sleep deprived, all the sort of harder side of being a mum, and dad as well, you know, as a family, as a couple. And so I think you fight a bit and then you just give in. You give in because it's easier, because you are exhausted, because you think and you start listening to what people say, and then you let more space for that inner critique to come out, the whole sort of mental side, all those kind of things that could possibly go wrong, and you live in that space, which makes it so difficult for you to connect inside. And there's no time, effectively. You're so busy. Well, that was my experience. I was so busy with the other children and also work at the same time, and just the balance was out. And I think if you're not in that space of balance, or certainly for me, being able to have some time just for me, just to think and just to really be in the moment, which I wasn't. I was just on a treadmill of, you know, chores, breastfeeding, baby. I breastfed for a long time, so that's why I wasn't. And then it's just easy to just succumb to whatever's happening. You become sort of a victim of whatever, and just think, oh, for an easy life, I can't cope, I can't think, I can't be me, really. So, and again, you know, it is what it is, and you look back and you think, oh, you forgive. I go back now and I give myself hugs at that time and say it was okay, everyone was safe in the end, it was okay. And those were 2 experiences. And also it's enriching to have had 2 different experiences, which I draw on a lot. So it's always a little a good way to remind myself of what happens when I don't listen to me and when I'm not myself in full, in total. So there's always lessons to be learned in there from the choices we make, or choices, or when we don't make choices, in fact, or certainly feel we surrender to, you know, to whatever everybody else wants for us, which happens. So we just have to, you know, it's okay. That's part of life as well. So can't beat ourselves too much when that does happen, but it's enriching as well, although it's hard.
It's very interesting that this giving ourselves time has come up again. Really, really interesting. So it seems to be that is one of the number ones that we as women have to give ourselves. What other tips would you, magic tricks would you offer us?
So just that connection to self, to that and being compassionate to ourselves when we can't do it, because the fact is sometimes we just can't do it. So it's finding opportunities to just be, you know, as we have heavy schedules, as always, that kind of, you know, treadmill, you do this, you wake up, then that, you know, till the end of the day. And sometimes the end of the day and you haven't. So even 5 minutes, you know, I used to go and sit on the loo. Really graphic. We just sit on the loo, lock the door, and just, oh, this is, you know, you can do that in the office even for a few minutes. So in the office, and you're driving, whatever, even in the supermarket, you can just stay with your trolley in a corner for 5 minutes and just carry on doing what you need to do. Literally, however long, you know, even if it's a short time, it's important, and just to really connect and just be quiet and push back. So when people ask other things of you, and I think sometimes, not just as women, but just as people, it's hard to say no. And I've certainly found myself in that position. Sometimes you're supporting other people, and the whole time, then you think, actually, I just need to make a little bit of space for myself, you know, to think, to swim, to paint badly, whatever brings you joy. So I've learned the hard way that if I don't do that, there are consequences for me, which I'd rather just not experience. But when I do, I just give myself a hug and say, it's okay. You know, tomorrow's another day. There'll maybe another opportunity tomorrow, and we'll just see how that goes. So
lovely. It's been lovely listening to you, Lisette. Thank you for sharing and inspiring us. Remembering to give ourselves that time. It's not even extra time, is it? It's just time to fully experience ourselves. Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure.
It's so lovely to see you, and thank you for all the times you've helped me to be in that space, because your work's been amazing and life-changing for me, Paula. So thank you.
Thank you, Lisette. And thank you, dear listeners. I hope you got some inspiration from Lisette. I mean, gosh, lots of pearls of wisdom. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.